6, welcome to lesson 3. As we continue our study of plants, Tuesday we took on the parts of a plant, roots, stems, leaves. Wednesday we took on photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Photosynthesis only happens in plants. I add sunlight to carbon dioxide and water. It produces the glucose sugar we need and oxygen. Both plants and animals use cellular respiration, using oxygen and the glucose to release the energy and give off water and carbon dioxide. So the reverse cycles of each other form the cycle pattern. Today we're going to talk about how plants grow. We'll talk about two different types of vascular plants, vascular seed plants. It'll go back to what you talked about on skill on Monday, and some of their uses. So we're going to cover today, some plants produce seeds and flowers, other plants produce seeds and cones. The conditions that plants need to grow vary among species. Plants have behaviors that are responses to the environment. We'll talk that tomorrow. All right, let's get started on angiosperms. A tiny seedling just started to emerge from a seed is the first step in the growth of a plant that may later produce seeds. Some seed plants, called angiosperms, produce flowers. Number 1 in your notes. Angiosperms can be found in almost every land environment. In fact, scientists have identified somewhere between 200 and 300,000 species of angiosperms. Only insects have more species than angiosperms. Insects. Some examples of angiosperms include peach tree in the picture, as well as tulips, grasses, daylilies, orchids, oak trees, grapes, tomatoes, and apples. So I wrote down list 3 examples of angiosperms. You can see they just gave you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Pick your favorite 3. Okay? All angiosperms are vascular plants. Number 4, they have specialized tissue for transporting material throughout the plant. What is that called? You read about these tissues. They're xylem and phloem earlier in this chapter. Xylem, things up from the roots into the plant, phloem out of the leaves to the rest of the plant. The seeds of angiosperms form after pollination and fertilization. Most seeds develop in a fruit, which protects the seeds until they begin to grow. Okay, so you got the fruit there. Humans depend on angiosperms in many ways. Number 1, we use them as food, letter A. We use them to make medicine, B, lumber, C, cloth, D, rubber, E, perfumes, F, cork, G, that doesn't belong there because I didn't put a G there, but you had one extra one, guys. I gave you 6, they listed 7. All kinds of different products that we use that we get from angiosperms. Different than angiosperms is gymnosperms. Okay, I was just thinking about my skill and my Venn diagram from Monday. I could have wrote down apple tree, angiosperm, pine tree, gymnosperm. Wow, I got fancy words as we learn about it now. Okay, you probably have seen cones that look like the one in the picture. Now they gave us both pictures, guys. We'll talk about these. If you remember on Monday, it said some look tightly closed like this one, and some look like it's opened up and dropped seeds like that one. So they're trying to give you both those things. Did you know that seeds develop in the cones? Plants that produce their seeds in cones are called gymnosperms. Number 7 are plants that produce seeds in cones. These plants do not produce flowers. That's how they're different. Some of the oldest living organisms on Earth are gymnosperms. One type, the redwood, can live for thousands of years. So guys, some of these redwood trees, including trees out in California, as they've been cut down and you can count the tree rings, are literally hundreds and hundreds of years old. I forget the oldest one. It's closing in on 1,000 now. Absolutely amazing how long they can live. You probably are most familiar with one type of gymnosperm, the conifers. Conifers are woody plants with needles. What are needles? Needles are scale-like leaves. So I wrote down, guys, woody plants with needles or scale-like leaves. Please understand, a needle is a leaf. This is doing photosynthesis, guys, and giving energy to that plant, okay? The Scotch pine in the picture is a conifer. So sometimes, guys, we think of conifers, we call them Christmas trees. We might call them evergreens, okay? They're one type of gymnosperms. Conifers have 2 types of cones, male and female. Female cones contain ovules with egg cells, your notes. Male cells contain pollens that have the sperm. Pollen then is carried, usually by the wind, from male cones to female cones. Sperm then fertilize the egg cells, which you learned about 2 chapters ago. After fertilization, the female cone closes up, so it looks like this, until the seed is mature, and it would look like that. This process may take up to 2 years. When the seeds are mature, they are released and fall to the ground. Unlike angiosperms, the seeds of gymnosperms are not contained in fruits. So they open up and they drop these little seeds down, guys, and these will grow into the new tree. Okay? So you had ovules, you had pollen, the close, and the seed grows within it. All right, let's talk about the uses of gymnosperms. Gymnosperms are important as sources of, number 1, wood. That's like over here, guys, lumber. And 2, makes paper products. So lots of the paper we get comes from the different pine trees. Same with a lot of the lumber we use. Most lumber comes from pine trees. That's the cheaper stuff. The fancier woods like oak trees and cherry trees, that the wood is a little harder. Plants that are made with paints, letter C. Oils from gymnosperms are used for air fresheners, D. Disinfectants, F. Scents and soaps, G. Cosmetics, H. Source of food, I. You could have went for a while, guys. You need to get 6. I think there was 9 of them there. Okay, cruising back over here, there are 3 parts to a seed. Okay, the seed coat protects the embryo and the cotyledon. So you have this outer area, guys. That's job, protect. Then you have seed part number 2. The embryo is a part of the seed that grows into a new plant. So this is what's going to give me my new plant. Just like we use the word embryo in the human beings. When we have cells joined together, as soon as they're joined, they're called a zygote. As they start to grow, they're called the embryo. In some seeds, the first true leaf is visible at the tip of the embryo. Okay, the cotyledon is sometimes called the seed leaf, but it isn't a true leaf. Guys, a true leaf is something that's going to start making its own food. Cotyledons contain food that nourishes the plant until it can make its own food. This seed is called a dicot because it has 2 cotyledons. Some plants are monocots, they only have 1 cotyledon. So you have the embryo, which is going to grow in a new plant, and you have the cotyledon. It's the food that's going to nourish this plant to get it there. Okay, so it's just giving you the parts of a seed. Protect it until the time is right with a seed coat. Nourish it until it can start producing its own energy when it breaks from the ground. But if you know, guys, seeds that are growing above the ground also have roots growing into the ground, and that root's going to take energy. And so we need to have stored energy there for it to work. So seeds will store your energy. All right, we're going to break this lesson in half, guys. I'll see you tomorrow as we take on the second half of the lesson.